Hey everybody, it's Trevor here with the channel where every day is range day, and in today's video we're going to be doing an actual review of my Tier 1 Concealed Axis Elite Appendix holster. Black Friday is coming up in a couple weeks, which means it's just about a year to the day to when I first ordered this holster. So I figured it'd be a good time to do an actual review of this holster throughout the past year. Let's take a look. For starters, this is an appendix rig style holster that is growing pretty popular with many shooters these days, and we at Range Day are a big fan. The Tier 1 Concealed is mostly known for their flex action that they have here in their Axis Elite. They also have an Aegis, which has more of a button snaps, while this has an elastic shock cord. Rigs like this usually have a slot for your main pistol here on one side and then a mag carrier on the other. These are worn in your appendix position. These little claws or other features are built to push the gun into you, and they're a pretty good option for both comfort and for concealment. Now, my EDC gun is this Glock 19 right here, which is, of course, clear, and I carry it in the appendix position with a +5 mag extension in the holster just like this. Now, I wear this basically every day, and I try to conceal carry everywhere that I'm legally able to. So I've been wearing this holster for almost a year now. And being able to test this holster over such a long period of time provides a bunch of different advantages in that you get to experience its durability over the long haul, how it feels after day in and day out carrying it in terms of comfortability, and you also get a pretty good idea of how it conceals in different times of the year, mainly when you're wearing more or less clothing, be it the summer or the winter time. I've had just about all 4 seasons with it, so I have a pretty good idea of how the printing situation is, or could be rather, based on what you're wearing all throughout the year. But in general, I've been super happy with the holster. It's held up great, it's maintained its comfortability, and I haven't had any printing problems. Now keep in mind that this is for this particular gun, a Glock 19, in my particular body type. I'm not an incredibly huge person per se. I'm pretty average height at about 5'8", and I weigh only 155 pounds, so I'm a bit on the slim side, but this does tend to work pretty well for my body type, and the flex feature does help with concealment, as we'll get to in a minute. So that's just something to keep in mind. Additionally, when you're carrying conceal, especially in the appendix position, a good belt also helps and can greatly contribute to its concealment. Now, actually getting into some of the pros of the holster, the first one that I'd like to talk about is durability. Now, this is a full Kydex holster with a shock cord flex feature in the middle. Over the past year, it's basically all good, just as brand new as when I got it. The elasticity and the flex feature is still maintained. There's no significant wear on the Kydex at all, be it on the outside or the inside of the holster where the firearm comes in contact with it. There's no excess wear on the back of the holster where it slides in and out from my belt. The little belt loops still snap into place real quick, and there's no sign of wear and tear there. And all of the retention screws that have basically stayed in place. Up next, another pro is just how comfortable this holster is. Carrying a larger gun like a Glock 19 or even this Glock 34 in the appendix position could be quite uncomfortable based on the holster you're wearing and a couple other things, but for me, the Tier 1 Concealed Axis Elite has been a big win with the Glock 19. The flex design greatly helps with this, so it sort of molds a bit more to your particular body shape as opposed to some of the fixed designs, and the holster is also quite thin if you look at it on end, and there's ultimately just less material in the holster, which means it's a little bit lighter and a lot easier to wear all day. Another little upgrade that I got for this holster setup probably a month or 2 after I started wearing it, just to help a little bit with some comfort and concealment issues, was their little wedge pack that Tier 1 offers. I was curious about it, and they're pretty cheap, so I figured I'd give it a try. And I gotta say, I would recommend the Tier 1 wedges on basically any appendix holster that you're wearing if you're into this type of concealed carry setup. The wedge is just a little bit more comfortable down here where the muzzle of your firearm could be poking into you, and it basically just gives a little push to kick the grip into your body and to push the barrel just a little farther out. They make wedge packs with multiple different sizes, and we did a video on how to pick which one's best for you, so I'd check that out if you're interested in the wedge. It's a pretty good bump for comfort as well as concealability. And that brings me on to the next pro of this holster, is that it really does conceal quite well. Now again, I carry the Glock 19 double stack 9mm every day, and I've had absolutely zero problems printing with it, regardless of what kind of clothing I'm wearing, what time of year it is, anything like that. It's always been super easy to conceal, and the wedge only highlights that by just pushing the grip just ever so slightly more into your body and really getting it out of the way. Because at least for my body type, I'd most likely be printing out here with the mag in like that. This is where I'd be more apt to be printing. And of course, like I mentioned previously, a good solid belt is also pretty important to be able to conceal properly, and that does sort of contribute to the success of this holster. I use the Core Essentials tactical gun belt, but there's a ton of other good options on the market too. But overall, the concealability has been super great with the Glock 19, haven't had any issues, and I even carried it with the Glock 34 in here while I have my Glock 19 out getting some slide work done. You can see here the barrel does poke out a little bit just because this is size for a 19 length Glock, but it still fits in the holster just fine, and you basically just have the Glock 17 grip poking out. This isn't really an issue for concealment considering where it's at, but even with the full-size grip here, I still haven't had a problem with concealment with this holster. Your mileage may vary based on your body type, but personally, it's been great for me, and I could not be happier with how it conceals. Especially if you carry something like the Glock 19 every day, not a problem at all, and the flex feature just sort of molds it right to your body type, and the wedge really helps with comfort and concealment. Now, continuing on to the whole concealment aspect of it, I did mention that I've had it for a year, so I've got to experience its performance and comfortability throughout multiple seasons. So I got it in the winter last year, ran it all through the nice hot summer this year, and now it's starting to cool back off again. So I've worn just about the gamut of all the different clothing types that you could expect to wear in a normal year. Now I'll roll up on the screen here a couple different clips of me wearing this holster with my Glock 19 and the +5 mag carrier in a variety of different clothing setups. First off, we're basically just going to look at what the concealment's like wearing 3 layers. So this would be like a winter outfit, basically a t-shirt with some sort of pullover and then like a jacket. Something that you wear when it's a little bit colder out. And I mean, to be honest, regardless of which holster or firearm you're carrying, it's pretty easy to conceal when you have this many layers of clothing on. Of course, you get the sort of disadvantage for having extra clothing you have to defeat in order to access your weapon, but from a concealment and a comfortability standpoint, no issues whatsoever wearing 3 layers of clothing. It's just too easy at that point. In this next clip, I'm just wearing a t-shirt and then a pullover on top of it, just 2 layers of clothing. Something I tend to wear around the fall when it's starting to cool off towards winter. There's still no printing issues at all with the Glock 19 and the +5 mag. It just fits me really well, and the wedge definitely helps tuck that grip in there just a little bit. And up next, it's basically just wearing a t-shirt. This is a good representation of what you could expect to be wearing during the summer, and I haven't had to make any changes to my wardrobe at all in the summer season as well. Now, if you're wearing something that's like really skin tight, of course you're gonna have printing problems with any holster. But if you're just wearing your normal t-shirts outside during the summer, no problems with the Tier 1 concealed at all. Especially for me, I haven't had any. And to me, the fact that you can wear this year round without having to make any changes to your wardrobe, that's a pretty big win for me. Nobody wants to go out and buy all these special shirts that you have to have in order to not print while you're carrying your firearm. That's one of the big reasons I like the Tier 1 concealed here. It just works so great throughout the seasons. You don't have to change your wardrobe at all, and that's something big for me to look for when choosing an appendix carry holster. Overall, those are the big pros. It's been outstanding in terms of durability, in terms of the Kydex construction and the shock cord. It's incredibly comfortable, and the wedge only helps with that, and it also helps with concealment. The holster has proven itself to conceal just fine throughout all seasons of the year, and I haven't had to make any changes to my wardrobe at all. It just works. Up next, I just wanted to go through a few of the cons of the holster that I guess you could say, in my opinion, throughout my experiences for the past year. Number one, and probably the most notable, is the cost. These holsters are quite expensive, and basically everything you want to do to it to make it a little better is an add-on minus like optics cuts and some stuff you can do down here at the bottom if you want to run a compensator. Premium Kydex costs extra. The Tier 1 Axis Elite is their newest one, so of course it's really expensive. Its base price is something like $135. It's a ton of money for this holster. I mean, it's pretty high quality, so you pay for what you get, but it runs quite a bit of money. Again, it's like $135 for the base. Premium Kydex like carbon fiber, multicam, Cryptex, stuff like that's an extra $20 or $25. If you want it to be light compatible, that's another $20, and it just goes on from there. The wedges, of course, are an additional cost at $15 for the sizing pack, and you can buy additional shock cord for another $3, but mine hasn't worn out, so I haven't needed it. All the options you can get to really get the holster you want adds up, and it is a ton of money. I was looking at light compatible holsters similar to this in carbon fiber, and it's somewhere around $175 to $180 just for the holster. It's pretty expensive, but I can't say it's not high quality. If the price is worth it to you, I would recommend it, but that is something to keep in mind. These ain't cheap. The next con I have is perhaps the only functional sort of oddity that I've experienced with the holster. I've never had any issues with retention or drawing or fit or anything like that, But sometimes I've noticed, I guess based on maybe how tight my belt is, or if I'm walking a certain way, you can kind of hear the Kydex like creak a little bit. I can't get it to do it when I'm not wearing it. But there's a certain little like creak it makes when you're stepping and the flexure of the holster starts happening. That's what makes it comfortable. But there's some sort of like plastic creaking that you can hear sometimes when you're walking. It's not super loud, but it does make that little noise occasionally. Not all the time. I don't quite know what causes it. It might just be my belt doing something. It just makes a little funny noise. It's not a huge con, but I figured I'd bring it up because it's something I notice from time to time when I'm wearing this. But other than that, there's not really any significant cons to the holster. It performs well, it's lasted over time. There's basically no wear and tear. It's just gonna run you a pretty penny if you want one of these. And that's basically the main consideration, I would say, if you were thinking about getting one of these. Well, that looks like it's going to be it for the video today, guys, on what is basically my almost 1-year review for the Tier 1 Concealed Axis Elite Appendix holster. I've had a great time with it so far, and I would definitely recommend it. Mine has performed phenomenally over the past year. It's incredibly comfortable, it's super durable, and it conceals really well no matter what time of year it is. And I would definitely recommend picking one up if you don't mind shelling out a little extra money compared to some other options out there. It's definitely worth what you paid for. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like down below. And if you have any questions about my setup or any of the offerings from Tier 1 Concealed, feel free to leave them down below in the comments and we will get back to you. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, where every day is brand new.